Guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and we finally got the sneak peek, and it is a pretty big surprise. The 5% chance, the outside odds, the Immortals of Olympus have assembled. Ripped the Squadron Supreme, ripped IBIG. It is the Olympians. Yeah, it's the Immortals of Olympus. It's Hercules and the other gods from mythology and classical history. Yeah, this is kind of crazy. Pretty neat. All right, I'm pretty hype actually. I was pretty locked in on Squadron Supreme, so this is kind of nice, and I really enjoyed my time studying classical mythology. So yeah. Anywho, let's take a look at the teaser here. Agents, transcendent beings from across dimensions have arrived. Meet the powerful gods of Olympus and a hero worshipped for ages who possesses immense strength and authority. The goddess of wisdom, the goddess of love and beauty, the ruler of the underworld, the strongest hero, and the king of the gods will finally arrive. Prepare for the changes brought by the overwhelming power of these 5 noble beings who once shook Olympus. We'll provide more information through the update details. So, this is pretty nice. This is pretty cool. Yeah, I'm actually really excited for the Olympians, for the gods of Olympus. Anyways, so prepare for the changes brought by the overwhelming power. Maybe it's going to be tier 5. Maybe there's going to be a different kind of change, but maybe the change means like to PvE content like ABX, ABL. There could be lots of different ways to interpret the change, but the sneak peek itself is pretty cool. I haven't even heard the music. All right, okay. I like the fire in the background. I like the fire sound effect. I really hope, man, this stage that's modeled, it's probably modeled for one of the epic quest fights that lasts 5 seconds. But I really hope we have this as like a permanent stage for actual content that we do daily, like timeline battle or something. Man, a new world boss, that'd be crazy. Anyways, there's just so many cool arenas that are modeled once for epic quest fights, and you never see them again. So yeah, the implication there is that Zeus and Hercules are fighting, because obviously Herc looks like he's ready to square up, and then Zeus literally squares up and dashes at the screen. Pretty cool, pretty cool. You could take a handful of stories from classic mythology about, you know, the gods fighting each other, quarreling, infighting, you know, defying the gods, defying your father, you know, all this kind of stuff. It's classic. It's classic. They're all tales about mortality and the virtues of life, etc., etc., etc. Anyways, that's really cool. All right, so we know we're getting the Olympians. That's really cool. I also wanted to speculate on their typing and other things about them so that we can get a better idea and kind of wrap our heads around these characters from mythology. So we have, first of all, their names here. We have Hercules, who was our titular character who, you know, intros the sneak peek. He walks up to the other gods in sort of like that room in Olympus. Hercules is probably going to be the protagonist of the epic quest if I have to guess, because Hercules is probably the most popular, the most well-known, identifiable superhero, and he's also the one that interacts the most with other characters. He has a long-going beef with Thor. He's in the Avengers. He's in the Mighty Avengers. You know, he features himself a lot in stuff outside of the Olympians. Most of the other Olympians only really stick to their core group. They don't really branch out. Hercules branches out a lot. So I would guess, if I had to guess, that Hercules is going to be the protagonist. He's going to be the character that you like build up, like Sentry, like Deadpool, and the other epic quests. He's going to be kind of like the foundation of the epic quest, the native tier 3, whatever, or tier 4, native tier 4, whatever they want to do. But he's going to be the one at the start. Then you have Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty. You have Athena, the goddess of wisdom. And those were the 2 female characters flanking Zeus and Hades. And then Zeus is the big bearded one, and Hades is the one that's balding. And that's kind of, he looks like a you know, counselor or some sort of like, I don't know, he looks like a eunuch or something. But yeah, he's the one kind of chilling in between, at the bottom of the stairs, in between Zeus and Hercules. So these are the 5 Olympians that we're getting. I won't close the door to more Olympians in the future, because there's actually, I believe, 12 Olympians in total, and we only have 1 in the game right now with Ares. So we actually only have half of all of the Olympians. And while there is some kind of boring overlap slash kind of useless Olympians in terms of battling, not useless, but like less battle ready or less like less simple to transfer into like a battle type game, there are other Olympians that could be added that would suit the game just fine, that basically already have other versions in the game as characters. So yeah, these are the six that we're these are the 5 that we're getting. As far as their typings, so the first thought I had for their typings is they're all going to be universal. Because the game's kind of boring when it comes to typings, and a lot of times these types of characters, they all just get shoehorned in as heroes, or sorry, as universals. So that's my first thought, is that they're all just going to be universals. But that's kind of boring, to be honest with you. So if they're not all universals, then I could see them doing combat for Hercules. I could see them doing either blast or speed for Athena and Aphrodite. And then I could see them doing, I can't really see them doing anything other than universal for Zeus and Hades. So this is probably my projected, most accurate grouping or typing for these 5 characters. And you can kind of take your pick. They could do speed for Athena and blast for Aphrodite, or they could flip-flop it. It doesn't really matter. But based on their power sets, based on how they express their powers, this kind of thing. I guess Zeus could be blast, but probably going to be universal. But yeah, this is what I see as far as the typings go. As far as whether they're heroes or villains, I think it's going to be pretty straightforwardly all heroes except Hades. And Hades is going to be the one villain, just because that's how it is in Olympus. They're all basically heroes for the most part. They all have flaws. They're all deeply flawed. They all play the villain, so to speak, at different times. But at the end of the day, they're all heroes. And Hades is really the only one that can claim and that gets that title of like actual, consistent, throughout, thematically, the villain, the ruler of the underworld, this kind of thing. So that's pretty straightforward. I don't think they're going to mess with that. As far as their typing, so this is whether they're going to be human, mutant, etc. This is where it gets kind of interesting, because I think there's a pretty good chance that they're going to all be alien. And that's just going to fit the fact that all of the Asgardian gods, like Odin, like Thor, etc., Scourge, those are all aliens. So that would fit the motif if they're going to be that, in that sort of category. However, we already have a lot of aliens in the game. We also have all the symbiotes, who are mostly either alien or human. And we also have all the Asgardians, who are aliens, and we have others as well, right? Like, Gladiator, etc., etc., etc. So I think they could go a different direction. Instead of going alien, I think they could go other. And the reason for other is because, like, they're not exactly aliens. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird. They're like humanoid aliens, so to speak, right? They're sort of like humanoid aliens, which is kind of like Asgardians. But again, Asgardians are just the Norse version of Olympians. So, if you're going to go somewhere else with it, might as well just go somewhere else with it. And the reason why I'm choosing other is because obviously I can't choose mutants. Obviously I can't choose Inhumans. And I'm not going to choose humans because we already have a lot of those. So, and I'm not going to choose, I guess you could choose creature, but they don't really fit creature. But other, I think, is interesting because then it opens the door. If they're going to change ABX, ABL restrictions, there won't be as much overlap. Because realistically speaking, if Hercules is combat, and if he's an alien, and he's a male, and he's a hero, then there's immediately going to be overlap with Gladiator, right? Immediately, boom. And if he's not an alien and he's a human, then there's immediately overlap with, like, Venom, for example, or Kingpin or whatever. Maybe not Kingpin because he's not a hero, but you get what I'm saying. Not to say that all those characters are the same in terms of score, but just to say that there's already so much overlap, and it means that if there's overlap in the characters that are meta, then it means that the restrictions also have to contain that overlap in order for it to hit on any of these meta characters. However, if you have meta characters across all of the different permutations, blast speed, universal combat, hero villain, male female, human and human, mutant, other, creature, alien, if you have all of those permutations and you have metas on every single note, right there, right, from all those permutations, you probably have like 40, 50 characters. Right? One of each branching out. So I would hope that they realized this and they made some creative liberties. As long as Marvel allows them to make those creative liberties, I don't imagine why Marvel would care, really, what their typing is. But maybe they want to keep them similar to the Asgardians, and maybe they want to, you know, have that kind of consistent. So that is my speculation. That's my take on the 5 Olympian gods that we are getting in Marvel Future Fight in next week's update. I do expect Hercules to be the hero, the sort of like protagonist that you play with. And then I probably expect either Hades or Zeus to be the kind of the ultimate character, like Strife, like Molecule Man, that you unlock at the very end. And that would make either Aphrodite or Athena the deluxe pack character. And the reason why you want to make those the deluxe pack characters, of course, always got to go for the simps. You always got to target the female character when it comes to paying money. Look at Sue Storm. Look at Psylocke. Look at Moonstone. There's a long history of this in Marvel Future Fight, so I would not be surprised whatsoever. Now that we've done that, I wanted to take a little bit more time here to look at all. So this is all 12, I believe, of the Olympians in Marvel. There's obviously potentially more Olympians in classical mythology, depending on what you're reading. But I wanted to take a look here because we know we already have Ares in the game, right? So we're not going to get Ares again. That's Zeus, right? So we're getting Zeus here soon. I assume that obviously that's Athena. I think that's Aphrodite, and then I think that that's Hercules. I haven't read the comics, so I'm not 100% sure. So I think if that's the case, then this is Hermes, the kind of the god of speed. That's an obvious, you know, that's an obvious facsimile for someone like Quicksilver, Makari, right? He could easily be added into the game. I think that's a no-brainer. Dionysus, I think, is here. I don't think Dionysus could actually be added to the game, to be honest with you. He's the god of like celebration and partying and stuff. I mean, I think he could have really cool powers, don't get me wrong, but I don't think they're gonna add him to the game. Sorry. This is Hades. I think I know we're also getting him, Hades, there. And then Hera, Zeus's wife. Yeah, she's all right. She's strong. Don't get me wrong, she's strong. She could get into the game. Honestly, the ones that I think are the coolest are Hermes and Neptune. I really think Neptune / Poseidon. Sorry, I don't want to get through like Roman, Greek gods. Yeah, I think Neptune is really, really cool here. And then I think, is this Apollo? I always mix Apollo up with the people. I think this is Apollo. Anyway, the real hardcore, you know, ancient mythology, is it ancient classical mythology fans will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is Apollo. So yeah, I think Apollo, Hermes, Neptune would be easy adds to the game. I think Hera could also be an easy add to the game, not to hate on the female characters, but yeah, the Olympians are pretty male centric. They're pretty dominated power set wise by male characters, but we already got a pretty solid grouping, as you can see, with 6 out of the 12, and with only basically one that I think is kind of doesn't fit the game. I mean, I think they could make it work. Don't get me wrong. I think they could make it work with Dionysus. I think he could be a really cool, really fun character, but at the same time, I could see them just being like, he's not really powerful, you know, kind of like how they kind of passed on a bunch of the Eternals. We were like, oh man, we need to see this guy. I can't remember his name now, but like this guy and that other guy, and one of the guy's power was like mind control, and the other guy was just like a really good engineer. You know, again, these power sets could be expressed in the game. The engineer could have like a bunch of really cool temporary summons that are really strong and deal a bunch of damage or do some kind of on-screen effects, healing bubbles, etc. But the devs, as we know, too complicated. It's too, you know, grandiose. We don't do those kinds of things, right? We just need punching and kicking and blasts. We need to be able to copy and paste as many skills as possible here, guys, and just change the color gradient on the you know, overlay. You know, just change around the occlusion a little bit, the lighting, and we'll be fine. But yeah, so hit me up in the comments down below. As you can tell, I'm really excited about the Olympians. I really like the whole classical mythology thing. I got to brush up on my classical mythology, to be honest. I feel a little bit rusty talking about it now off the cuff. But yeah, hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think, how excited you are Thank you so much for watching. Smash the like button, share the content, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.